I started my high school career at South Garland, and then I finished my last 2 years at Garland. And looking back on that, I wish I would have never switched schools, because the basketball coach at South Garland is one of the best ever, and I would have really loved to play for him and play with my best friend growing up. So that's why I ended up at Garland. But anyway.
When did you graduate?
1975.
And you started Dallas Baptist College.
The very next year, it was the only college I was looking at, because I was going to be a minister. I wanted to go into the ministry. And after 1 year, I started thinking, I don't remember all the exact things I was thinking about, but I grew up in the world of athletics. My dad and our bond was in the world of watching the Cowboys and other athletics and sports. And so I thought, my whole mission is that I want to affect high school, or I want to affect students. And so coaching and teaching would be the better avenue. Also, my best friend growing up, Gary Taylor, we kind of followed the same path. He graduated from South Garland. He went on to be a coach and teacher, and he taught English. And so that was really, I love my English teachers, and that was my reason for being an English teacher, or becoming an English teacher.
So you got your degree in education, and you went to Dallas Baptist College.
Yes.
When did you graduate?
Graduated in 1980 with a BS degree. I had a major in physical education and a minor in English.
And what groups were you involved in while you were at DBC?
I was with a fraternity who I still have contact with, Sigma Chi Delta. It was a local chapter, and we just had great leaders in that group, and that's actually one of the things that changed my life. And then I hung around with you and David and Les and Craig, and so it's kind of neat, because 40 years later we all still contact each other, and I love that. That's one of the things that's kept me going at times during rough periods in my life, that I still have these friendships dating all the way back to 1975 to 1980.
You were president of the Student Government Association.
Yes, that's a great story, because 3 of my friends and I went to the DFW airport, and we were going to be baggage handlers. And we all had the same background. None of us were felons. We all, were average students because we played around too much. But besides that, there was nothing to keep me from getting the job. But those 3 got it, and I didn't. And so I thought, what in the world? What was the difference? Well, about a week later, a friend of mine, asked me if I'd be interested in being student government or student body president.
Who was she?
Linda Hamby.
Hamby.
And I heard from her about 8 years ago. She actually came to my campus, and I walked her around my campus. And anyway, I thought, yeah, I would be interested in that. And it paid for my tuition and fees. It paid my way through the rest of my college. And so that was one of the first great moves of God in my life, is that He showed that He can, when He closes a door, He's got a window waiting to open for her. And that was another life-changing event in my life.
So you met and married Susan Cagle.
Yes.
Okay.
We started dating. We had open house in our dorm E, and her sister Kelly Cagle brought her through, and Susan was just I believe she was a sophomore, maybe a junior in high school, and I was the same thing in college, so I was 5 years older. I was at my desk. I wrote for the sports page back then, And so I was writing an article to hand in the next day, and she walked in, and it was really one of those love at first sights kind of deal. And that was about 40 years ago, because we've been married for 38, and we dated and were engaged for about 2 years.
So how many kids do you have?
We have 8 children, and let me see if I can name them for you.
Okay.
Katie, I'll go from oldest to youngest. Katie, 35. Kyle, Clay, Colin, Keith, Caleb, Caroline, and Colton. Is that 8? That's it.
You almost slept up.
Yes, I did.
How many grandkids do you have?
I have 6 grandchildren.
Oh.
You want me to try to name those?
Yes.
Okay, we have one in England, Noah. And then Crew is our oldest one. He's a boy. He's Kyle's oldest son. He's 2. And then we have Revel, which is Colin's only kid, a little girl. They're she's about 6 months old. We have Breslin, who's Kyle's second baby. Kyle and Balin, his wife. And Breslin is about 8 or 9 months old. Maybe I have those reversed on Revel and Balin. I believe that's it. I didn't tell you my oldest 2. Katie, my oldest daughter, has Carlin, who's about 9, and then Crosby, who's about 3, I believe. And the unique thing in all this is that all my brothers, all my siblings, I had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. We were all K's. All my children are K's. Katie's 2 girls are K's, start with a K. And Kyle's 1 kid starts with a K. And so we've never asked them to carry that on, but some of them have. And it's been really a unique thing, and I love that part of our life.
Well, now, you're in education now.
Yes.
And how many years have you spent in education?
Started in 1980, and it's 2018, almost 2019. About 2 to 3 years I was out of education. One time to go to seminary. One time to sell furniture, believe it or not. That was a 9-month stint. And that was another story that was a very unique story. And so I've taught 35 plus years, taught or administrated 35 plus years. And I've coached for probably around 30 of those years. Wow. So I've been in it a long time, seen a lot of things.
Now, how many years have you spent as a headmaster?
I was a headmaster at 3 different schools: Avila Christian School, Rockwall Heritage, and McKinney Christian Academy. And I was headmaster for 11 years. And one of the unique things about that is when I got into education, I never, ever wanted to be an administrator. I thought it seemed dull. I asked myself, what did they do all day? And so one of the things I said is I never would be an administrator, and I never saw myself as that. But I think God put me in as student body president kind of opened the door to think about being in leadership. And so it was 11 of the happiest years of my life when I was headmaster. Now, there were some difficult things. Running a Christian private school is not easy. And, you work with the board, and most of the board members are great, but you have some that are micromanagers, and so you will deal with that. They're not bad people. It's just that some people, when they get on a board, they don't really know how to operate as a good board member. And so I've always tried to train our boards by bringing outside people in. So.
Now, what are the different coaching positions you've held?
Well, I love football. Football's my favorite sport, but I always felt more comfortable coaching basketball because I grew up playing basketball, and that's all I did. I played baseball, and I played a little football. I stopped playing football after the 8th grade, but I played basketball all the way through high school, and then in college, intramurals, and then in leagues in my 20s. And so I just knew the game of basketball, but as far as my real love, it was football. And I've coached at the high school level and the junior high level, and to tell you the truth, if I had to choose and I could only have one during my whole career, I would choose middle school. For some reason, I connect to 8th graders very well. And it's like the Lord's always blessed me with 8th grade teams, boys and girls. So I've coached high school, middle school, girls and boys. And I've also coached track, baseball, coached a couple of years of volleyball. But my favorite two by far have been basketball and football, with baseball probably coming in third.
Now, here's a question. You started out as a religion major.
Yes.
What made you switch over to education?
I think just that was my natural environment. I felt like that's where I knew it the most. I was raised in that environment. And again, Gary Taylor, my good friend, was going to do that. And so we kind of went along the same lines in many different situations. And so that kind of led me into that field. I just felt like you don't know when you're going into college what you want to major in most cases. But it ended up being the right decision, because as I look back on my life, I don't think I would have been as effective a minister. Even though I did work in Christian private schools for about 23 years.